Welcome to the ExecMBA podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Liza Ketcham. Liza is a second-year student in our ExecMBA class of 2024, and she and I recently connected to talk more about her background, how she decided to pursue an MBA, what she's enjoyed about her time at Darden, her work on the Wellness Initiative, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. So without further ado, here's my interview with Liza Ketcham. Liza, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Brett. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here. It's always a pleasure to talk with someone in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I know. I'm a New Englander gone south now.
How's everything going? How are you doing?
I'm good. It's a busy week. We had finals last week, and this week I'm taking it's this awesome 1-week marketing leadership class that's just like a 5-day class with Kim Whitler. But it's, starts at 4:00. It's about almost a 3-hour class. So it's been a busy week doing that as well as work.
Tell me a little bit more about the marketing leadership class. What is it all about?
So it's basically looking at marketing from the C-suite level. So Kim kind of takes us through, what's the role of the CMO? How does the CMO work with roles like the CIO? She has talking about marketing strategy from a more senior level. And she's had amazing speakers come in. I mean, it's my 4th day of the class, second to last day of the class, but we had the chief digital officer from P&G come and talk to us. We had this guy from David Weiser from Weiser Partners, who runs an executive search firm, come and speak to us, about the, job search process, especially at the C-suite level. And everyone Kim and the speakers have really given us tangible takeaways, things that we can go and do, tomorrow in our jobs. And I love when Darden classes have things like that, because it's not necessarily something conceptual that, think about long term, but something that I can, try out in my day job. And so it's been really great.
Well, that's awesome. Well, here you are. It's almost Q10.
I cannot believe it. I mean, and I'm sure like everyone says this, but it's so bittersweet. I think, preparing for this or thinking about preparing for this podcast, I was just kind of reminiscing and thinking back to when, you and I first spoke, and it feels so long ago. And it wasn't that long. I mean, I guess it was 3 years ago, pretty much at this point, but it's been a wild ride. It's been an amazing journey, and it has been a lot of work. And I am very excited to have time back in my life. That's going to be amazing. But as I'm buying my flight to go up to DC, or my next 2 flights, and I'm actually complaining at how expensive they are, I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's only 2 more, and then that's it. So there's definitely a level of sadness, because it's been such an amazing program, an amazing 2 years. And I'm sad to not, have that monthly 3 days with my friends and up in Roslyn. And I feel like Darden has, reinvigorated my love of learning. And so the fact that we're lifelong learners, not that that's going to end, but that this chapter ends is a little sad.
So you got 2 more weekend residencies, and you got a week in Charlottesville for LR2, and then graduation. Are you looking forward to being back in Charlottesville?
Oh, I can't wait. LR1 was so awesome, and I did go back to Charlottesville in August for it was a leadership summit, and then we stayed for the weekend and said hello to the incoming class. But Charlottesville is so cool, and I do wish we could spend a little bit more time there, but I'm super excited to go and stay at the Forum, which is going to be plug for the Forum. It's going to be fantastic. And I'm excited to be like right at Darden for the week. And it's, I don't know, I was laughing with my classmates because it's just going to be so different, because we remember going into LR1 and none of us knew each other. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's, a lot of type A personalities, a little bit competitive. And, everyone trying to prove themselves a little bit, but also have fun. And And now like we all love each other, and it's going to be so much fun. And like, I just think it's going to be a really perfect way to end this journey.
I see that your class, y'all did not stay at the forum for LR1. Weren't
No,
you at?
we were down on the mall.
That's right. That's right. So this will be a new experience for you. Although maybe you stayed at the forum in the interim period.
I haven't stayed there, but I've been there. I've been to the restaurant. It's great.
It's very, very nice. I think you'll enjoy it. And you're right there on North Grounds, just
Yeah.
stone's throw from the Darden School of Business. So ideal location, and the Arboretum is now fully open, so you can go
Oh,
and
nice.
wander the grounds, take in nature.
Love it.
All right. Well, Liza, tell us a little bit more about who you are. What's your background?
So I'm born and raised in Connecticut. So as I mentioned, I'm a New Englander at heart. I went to school in the South though, so I went to Sewanee University of the South for my undergrad degree, and I was a French major, which a friend of mine actually, Michelle in our class, was recently found that out, and she was like, "You were a French major. Did not see that coming." um, so I am, my mother is a big Francophile, and I inherited a little bit of that from her. Um, I love yoga. I teach yoga. I haven't taught actually while at Darden, but I'm hoping to get back into that when I'm done. I'm very passionate about wellness, health and wellness, which we might talk about a little bit in terms of the wellness committee and the resilience team. I have one older brother who is a University of Virginia alum, and he was one of the reasons that I really wanted to eventually find my way to UVA, along with my dad actually, who is a Darden alum, and he talked about Darden all growing up, and definitely planted that seed from a young age. What else? I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I recently moved here in July. My fiance, who also is a Darden alum, is from here, so we've been working on making our way down here for a little while. Um, and so yeah, I lived in New York for about a decade during my 20s and early 30s, or before COVID, I guess. And most of my career has been, actually all of my career has been in the fragrance industry. So I work for a company, an international fragrance house. And I've worked in a variety of different sales and marketing roles. And I now work on the consumer products, in the consumer product space, but I previously worked in what we call our fine fragrance division. So working with, um, you know, a lot of companies that are creating high-end perfumes and colognes.
What does it mean to work in the consumer products division?
So yeah, it's interesting. It feels like a different company, but basically, the things that you use every day. So we like to say in our company that our company touches you 10 times a day in some capacity. From, in the morning when you're brushing your teeth, it might be a flavor that we make, or your shampoo, or your body wash, or your face wash, and then the soap that you're cleaning dishes with, your laundry detergent, a candle you might light at the end of the day. So like all of these things that have fragrance, really touch everyone every day. So that's more the consumer product space. And I've really enjoyed it. It's a cool side of the business. I'm learning a lot, and it's been a new journey at the company.
That's interesting. So, how did you decide that you wanted to pursue an MBA?
So I was thinking about this. I was trying to think, like, when I really started thinking about it, and I think it was around 2018. I remember actually asking, my boss had told me about a business class that HR had brought in to do like an internal with the sales team. And I remember asking HR about it. And and that kind of started me thinking. And then I had grown up always hearing from my dad talking about Darden. And he it's funny, like he never really talks about his undergrad experience as much. He went to an engineering school, but he always talked about Darden. He talked about his friends at Darden. He talked about his experience at Darden. He did the residential program because, I think he was class of 77. That's all they had. Um, but it just was something he brought up a lot. And then as I started to, it was when I hit 10 years at my company, and I thought, I think I want to go get my MBA because I want to learn more about. I work in a very niche industry, and I want to broaden my horizons in the business space, and understand about how companies function, how business works. What else is out there? What else I need to understand to be better at my job or to be open to new opportunities, whatever that is. Um, and yeah, so it was around then that 2018 when I first started thinking about it, and then it was, I guess, 20. What was it? When did we first start? When did I reach out to you first? Was that 2022? Yeah, a year
Right
before.
around there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's funny actually. So I met on my first date with my fiance actually, and he went to Darden, and I remember talking about it with him and saying, and we were in New York, and I remember asking him about it and saying like, I don't know, like I don't know if I love UVA. My brother went to UVA, my dad went to UVA. Like I don't know if I could get into Darden. And he said, very matter of fact, he's like, you can definitely get into Darden. I'm going to introduce you to Brett Twitty. I think it was like, somewhat soon after that he wrote you an email and said, I have a candidate that you might want to talk to. And I don't know, maybe I needed to hear, some positive reinforcement, like you should do this, you can do this. And that fall I applied. Or maybe it was the next fall. It was a COVID weird time. It was either that fall or the next fall that I finally did it. So yeah, that's how I kind of started thinking about Darden.
Yeah, I find that most candidates need a little bit of a positive, reinforcement. Need someone to tell them, "No, you can do this." I'm amazed by the number of prospective students I talk to who are concerned that they're not the right kind of person. They don't have the right kind of background. They haven't taken this class. They haven't learned about this thing. They just don't think that they can get in. Like there's a litany of things that people come up with.
Totally.
It's
And
amazing.
I hope that my background and story might be helpful to a prospective student, because I came in, I was a French major. I went to a small liberal arts school. I have no finance background. And, here I was thinking, I'm like, business school, like, I'm not like cut out for this. I'm not prepared for this. Like, I'm not going to get in. But it's, it's not the case. Like, there's people but that's part of what I love about Darden. You know, it's not just finance people. You have my classmates come from all industries, from all parts of the country, the world, actually. Shout out to Zico, who's from Indonesia. um, but it's just the breadth of knowledge and industry and experience, especially in the executive program, is part of what I love about it, and part of why I sought it out too. I'd spoken to, and this is actually one of my things that I'd recommend for prospective students. Like as you're thinking about applying, like reach out to people, alums. I reached out to, as I was like preparing to apply, I cold reached out to a few people on LinkedIn saying, I'm curious about, actually, Meg Pride, who's founder of Brandify, cold reached out to her. I don't even know exactly how I found her on LinkedIn, and asked her if I could talk and get her advice, get her experience about Darden. And she wrote me back, and like we had a great conversation. And then I had another friend who was an executive MBA alum. And he talked to me for an hour one day and just like told me about his experience. And he recommended a friend, a female friend, that he was like, you should talk to her. My friend, I'm actually blanking on her name now, but like, you should talk to my friend and get her perspective. And so it was through talking to all these alums who were so willing to share their experience, to someone who, like, some of them literally had no idea who I was and were just willing to be like, oh, Darden, sure, I'm going to share my experience with this person. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of other programs or business schools that have that kind of network or alumni network.
All right, so Liza, you come to Darden, right? This big build up. You've been thinking about this for a long time. Finally apply, you get in, you come to Darden, you get started. In your first year, what was that adjustment like? You mentioned that you're a French major, small liberal arts school, didn't have a lot of background. So what was it like
Yeah.
being in business school?
Um, the first year was, I mean, the first couple of months, I think, was definitely um, a little bit of a shock in terms of, I would say primarily because of just learning how to live your life. I feel like people talk a lot about this in the admissions, webinars and stuff like that, where, time management becomes a really important skill, and something that I'm still working on today. But so I would say the core curriculum in the beginning, was fantastic. It was challenging, but I think that the way Darden structures it so that, you're not coming in to your first quarter with 3 quantitative classes. They're mixing it up so you have, a little bit of some soft skills classes, maybe a leadership class, and then a quant class. You have your learning team, so you have a support system, and you're thrown into this rigorous curriculum, but you're not alone. You know, you know, you pair us, Brett, and this team you pair us with our learning team, and I had a great experience with mine, especially in the beginning. You have help to prepare cases. You learn how to do it. It's not necessarily intuitive how to read a case and prepare it, but you learn how to do it, and you work with each other, and you learn how to, like, pick through, what's actually important here, what's the decision that needs to be made, um, and the more that you read them and the more that you do the case studies, the better you get at it. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely an adjustment, learning how to learn again, learning how to be in school again, learning how to take exams again, and then managing that with work, with life, with, for me, like, trying to be healthy and, keep my sanity, all the things. Um, but you figure it out. It's kind of, everyone seems to figure it out to some extent.
Yeah, people always ask us about specific content areas. And to me, when I think about the adjustment for our students, I tend to think first and foremost about just being back in school, having to learn about something that is not directly related to your job, using these muscles that may have atrophied a
For
bit
sure.
since your last educational experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, every day, a friend of my learning team says, like, every day is a school day. So you you have to, like, for me, it was helpful to do a little bit every day and get back into that flow, because, and I would say, like, towards, by Q10, maybe that habit is subsiding a little bit. But especially during the first year core curriculum, like, just doing a little bit of Darden every day really helped to make it less overwhelming. You you read a case a day. And for me, that helped, because I, you know, doing it all the casework and prep for OGRs and things like that last minute caused more stress than was necessary.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so these cases, some of them are long, some of them are not super long, but it's the sort of thing that you can ruminate on and think about. And every time you look at it or talk about it, you might get something new from it. And
For
so,
sure.
cramming is probably not the best way to digest this information.
No, unfortunately not for
Well,
me.
Liza, I know you were also very involved with this wellness initiative, resilience, as you mentioned. This is something that early on, I think you were sort of pushing for amongst your classmates. You want to talk a little bit more about this?
Sure. Yeah, and it was actually, I was thinking about, where that kind of seed was planted, and I remember it was probably, I think it was, I'd already gotten in, but I went to it was like January, probably 2022. And I went to one of your webinars, one of the, like, Women of Darden virtual things. And I remember an alum, Bahara, who actually I've worked with on some other things. But I remember her saying how important it was, and her advice to prospective students was how important it was to maintain some sense of wellness. Take care of yourself, because this program is rigorous. It takes a lot of your time. And if you don't take care of your mental health and your physical health, you're not setting yourself up for success during the program. And that really stuck with me. And then as we started in the first couple months, I thought it would be kind of a cool thing to do to start a wellness committee. There was a running club that was started, and I was thinking, how can we create some initiatives with some people who are equally passionate about wellness to bring our class together in healthy ways on the weekends that we're together, or provide recipes, articles, interesting things to think about, meditations, just so that wellness is a little bit more at the top of mind for people, because it's hard. It's like, I love exercising every day, but does that happen every day at Darden? No. But what are like little things that you can do, like a 10-minute meditation? You can probably fit that in, which is something for me that has been really helpful throughout this program. So the idea was just to create a platform for people to connect in healthier ways. And so that's where the wellness committee started, and people were super excited about it. And then, we involved the running club on Saturday mornings, and that became a walking club. Pam, who was previously on your podcast, Pam is like one of the leaders of the walking club. We've gotten groups to go to Barry's boot camp together. So a lot of it's fitness based, but it's kind of fun to do those things like early mornings on OGR weekends. We did this thing where during homeroom which the program team actually came up with the idea, but it was called Take Two, which was literally just like 2 minutes for the entire class to sit in silence. And like, I led them through a very short meditation, just breathing. People loved it. And it was just, 2 minutes out of your day to be completely silent and focus on your breath. And I remember after the first time we did it, a handful of people came up to me and they're like, that was the best part of my day. And I was shocked. I'm like, that was 2 minutes. You can do that anytime. But just, you almost forcing people to do it in a room, maybe sometimes it's easier for them to actually do it. But just, providing bite-sized ways for people to focus on their health and well-being. And then from there, the VP of Wellness position was created by our president, Anthony. And I remember when he was elected, he said, this is something that's important to me. And I think that we need a position that's on the ESA board that works with the program team and is involved in the leadership team to make sure that there is someone who's connected to the class and to the leadership and to the administration around resilience and well-being. Because there's a lot of burnout. There's a lot of, it's tough, and it's important for students to feel like they have somewhere to go to help with that if they need it.
Yeah, you're doing a lot when you're in this program, and life doesn't stay still. Work is not static either. A lot of things bubbling up. And so creating that space, focus on wellness. I would say this has really been a signature of your class, the class of 2024. I think, other classes have had some orientation towards this, but I would say your class has been the most committed to this of any of our classes. That's my impression.
That's great. And I really hope, my type A personality is, I wish I did more, but like there are only so many hours in the day and so many OGR weekends, and like you're fighting for time with, people can only do so much on these weekends when we're together, and it's jam packed. So my hope is that the incoming, that we started it, right? Like we're the guinea pigs, and that, classes to come will continue to evolve the role and continue to evolve the position, and find other ways to engage the class more, and to have this be a focus that becomes a real part of the program. I think it's important.
Yeah, I loved. We did an interview for the blog about the running club, and then I loved hearing about the walking club as someone who's more of a walker than a runner. Didn't know about some of the fitness outings, but I will say in the class of 2023, we did have a student who led like sunrise yoga on Sunday.
I know.
Sunday
I
mornings.
actually talked to her about it at one point, and we didn't end up doing that at the Meridian, unfortunately. But I'd love that they did that.
Yeah, it's a great example of each class, students in the class kind of bringing their own energy and ideas to this particular thing, and how receptive people are to it, and how open people are. So, well, Liza, you're in the second year of the program now. You're taking electives, taking your classes. How's second year compared to first year?
It's great. Um, I will say I thought that the second year would be I'd have a little bit more time, but that has not been the case. And maybe that's just the way that I chose my electives, but still just as busy, but it's fun because you're choosing your classes. I've made a point to push myself outside my comfort zone a little bit, taking more finance classes, which has been fantastic. I've actually really enjoyed them, and even though they're harder for me, I've learned a lot. And I'm like, that's why I'm here. I'm here to learn. I'm here to take advantage of these awesome professors and topics that I won't necessarily have access to learn in this type of environment with brilliant people again. So I'm trying to take advantage of that. Um, and yeah, the electives have been great. The professors are awesome. I'm doing also the global client project, which has been really cool. Which is it's basically like a student consulting project that you get matched with a company from another country. And my company is a Finnish sauna company, or as the Finns say, sauna. So we're working with them to help their go-to-market strategy for the US. And so we went to Finland. I've actually been to Finland twice in the program, and I love Finland. And it's been a great learning experience. So that's been fun to do, and we'll be finishing that up in the next 2 months too.
So you went to Finland for your global residency?
Yeah.
All right, so you went on the Finland, Estonia global residency. And so did you travel back to Finland as part of this global client project?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Back to
Any other
Helsinki.
any other global experiences? Did you think about doing an additional global residency?
I thought about it, and as all my friends right now are in, not all my friends, a handful of friends are in South Africa and Vietnam. I'm very envious, to be honest. But yeah, the global residencies are amazing. That's like huge highlight of this program to be able. I mean, it's just something I could go to Helsinki on my own and have a great time, but to go to these countries and these cities and meet with businesses and learn from C-suite executives about the businesses, talk to them, learn about what they do, where they're from, how they got there. It's just you couldn't do that as just a regular person going to travel. So my global residency was Finland and Estonia. And Estonia was a place, to be honest, like not on my radars that I necessarily wanted to visit. And I loved it. It's so beautiful. The people are wonderful. The businesses were fantastic and so interesting. It was such a great experience. And just to travel overseas with your classmates and experience a new place, a new culture, food, it was really fun.
Well, Liza, somewhat related to that, do you have a favorite memory from the program? I recognize you're not quite done, but something that jumps out from your experience?
I think it would be in Finland. Probably, actually, this is a good one. Probably we went to this beautiful sauna place right on the water in Helsinki it's called Loila, which is the Finnish word for steam. And you jump into the Baltic. So the whole thing is like you have like a 2-hour slot, and we're all there. It was like the opening night to the opening activity. So everyone's like going. There's 3 different saunas, and they're so hot, and the Finns really add the steam on there. So you can only stay in there for like 10, 15 minutes at a time. But then everyone then goes and jumps into the Baltic, which is freezing. So it was so hilarious and fun watching everyone like jump into this freezing water. Some people were like actually swimming out past this buoy, and we were worried that they might not make it back. But it was such a fun bonding experience. And then there was a great dinner after, and none of us had ever done anything like that before. So it was really fun. If anyone ever goes to Helsinki, you have to go to this place. It's fantastic.
You get a little bit of time to explore the location. There are a few cultural activities mixed in with all the company
which I
visits.
love. That part was really nice because it's a nice balance. The days are so long, like you're visiting 2 to 3 businesses a day, but then every other day there's something a little bit more cultural fun, a tour or something like this.
Well, what has been the impact of the program for you thus far?
Honestly, Brett, it's been life-changing. You know, I feel like I've learned to think in a whole new way. I'm more of a strategic thinker. Um, I look at my worldview has broadened. I feel like I look at the world with a different lens after, all the classes, all the people I've met, everything I've been exposed to. Um, I'd like to, I'd like to say that I have a lot more self-confidence. Even little things like, I negotiated with a new role I took last year, and that's something I probably wouldn't have had the courage to do 2 years ago. Going into those conversations with a new set of skills. Um, what else? I mean, the people. I have this incredible network of friends and Darden alumni and professors who I know, 10 years down the road, if I were to call someone, like they'll pick up, and if you had a question or need help or looking for, you moved and you need a new job, like it's an incredible, and I really like our cohort is incredible. And I think that we have bonded a lot. And I think this will be, 2 years of my life that I'll never forget and never regret doing. And it's going to be, it was definitely a big life-changing moment.
We still have a couple months left here in the program, Liza. What are you looking forward to in the coming months?
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited actually for my classes in Q10. It's the last couple. I'm taking Sean Martin's class again, Leading with Influence, which I'm really looking forward to, and another finance class, and Dean Beardsley's class, which I'm looking forward to spending some time with him and learning about his career and strategy. And then, I mean, LR2, I'm super excited for. I think that's just going to be so fun to spend a week in Charlottesville with everyone in the spring. What else? And then, graduation. I think, graduation is going to be a really fun couple days again in Charlottesville. I'm excited to be in Charlottesville twice. It's such a great city. What else? I'm just excited to soak up the time with my classmates. During, it's only honestly like a handful of days that we really have left together. So yeah.
You start the program and you think, gosh, 21 months. That's so long. And then you get to this point and you're like, how could it be over?
Brett, it's like, it's mind blowing. And it's so funny. Like I was, my friends and coworkers are like, well, you're graduating in May? You're already done? I'm like, yes, time flew. It flew. It was also, thinking back to 2 years ago feels like a decade ago when we started sometimes, but the fact that we're, 2 months to go, there's, when we say we have 2 OGRs left, that's just nuts. Time's a weird thing.
Well, last question for you here, Liza. What's a piece of advice you would share with our prospective student listeners?
Sure. I touched on it a little bit before, but as you're thinking about applying, reach out to people, alums or, anyone within the Darden network, and talk to them, and like go to the admissions events. I think in the first couple of months I went to all of them, especially, the kind of like the Q&A sessions with current students. And like the case studies, I know they had a couple of prospective student case studies or classes, I guess. But really try to understand from current students or alums the experience and make sure that it's a fit for you, because this is a huge investment financially and time in yourself. And it's going to affect your life. It's going to affect the people in your life, your close ones, your family, your friends. It's really 2 years where you're focusing on you, and make sure that you're in the right place to do that. With that said, I don't think there's ever like a right time. So if you're one of those prospective students who's like, like this isn't a great year, but the next year's not a great year, there's never going to be an ideal time. There really isn't. So if it's something like, for me, it's something I'd been thinking about for years. I obviously needed something to kind of like shove me out the door. Just do it. But make sure that you also know why you're doing it. You don't just get an MBA for fun. I don't think a lot of people like go into it with an idea of what you want to get out of it. Whether that's a career transition, whether that's, you want to, I don't know, whatever it is for you, make sure that you really know why you're doing it, know your why. Because if you know that, you're going to have a better experience. And I really think that you'll get more out of it because you're going to put more into it.
Well, Liza, thank you so much for your time today. It's great talking with you as always. Class of 2024. Oh my gosh, one more quarter in LR2 and then graduation. What an exciting time.
I know, Brett, and huge shout out to you, Brett, because, I will say as I end, I'll never forget, Brett, when you said, and I don't know if you say this to every class, but but I'll never forget when the first day of LR1, you got up and gave us a little presentation, and you said, every one of you, like, you deserve to be here, like you earned your seat. And I think I definitely teared up. I don't know if other people did, but it was just, so many of us, I think, have a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's like, I shouldn't be here. But getting into this program in itself is a huge achievement, and that shouldn't be discounted. And when you said that, it was, it's something I remember very vividly. So thank you for that, because that was a great way to kick off the program, and something I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's an important message. We know that even on that first day of school, and maybe especially on that first day of school, there are people sitting in that room looking around being like, how in the world did I get in here? I must be the one person that slipped in. Do they know that I'm in this class? That kind of thing. And it's so important for people to hear that again and again. That
it really is.
Earned your spot. You deserve to be here. You got yourself in to this program. No one is sort of let in. Everybody gets themselves in. It's the way that
135 very special people.
Yeah. So, well, Liza, great talking with you.
All right. Thanks so much, Brett.
And that was my interview with Liza Ketcham, a second-year student in our Executive MBA class of 2024. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's EXECMBA @darden.virginia.edu. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.